up a notches. Now they are discussing and threatening to sue the OCC over the crypto bank charters that they have been handing out. This bank war is only escalating. We're not going to waste any time. Let's go ahead and hop into it. Hit the like button. Let's get rolling and hop right into what is going on today. So today, right here, boom. Goldman Sachs, JPMorgan, and American Express are considering suing the US OCC over its decision to grant national trust bank charters to crypto firms. This coming a day, or actually on the same day, that Kraken was granted its skinny Fed master account. We're going to talk about what all this means. So let's go ahead and get through the information. We have a collection. We have a ton of stuff going on right now, and it all ties together. So stick with me. Let's cover it all. So now, JPMorgan, Goldman Sachs, and American Express are discussing suing the OCC over granting banking charters. Now, why is this important? What does this really factor into? Right? Does that have to do with the Clarity Act? Kinda. But what does this more or less have to do with than anything else? This has to do with payments. Okay? These banking systems are plugged directly into ACH, plugged into FedWire, and when that happened, they were basically granted access to the Fed payment system. And if they give that access to crypto companies, now the world no longer has to funnel through the major banks for payments. They're talking about deposit flight risk. They're talking about these things that are going to affect the smaller banks because people actually care about them. Congress actually cares about our community banks because they are community businesses. However, the biggest impact is going to come in the payment sector of the major banks because as these crypto companies get access, no one has to go through these major banking sectors and pay these astronomical fees. Think about it. Who is one of the three on this list? American Express, primarily payments. Who's number two? JPMorgan, the same person who was out there, a couple weeks ago saying, we just want a fair playing field. No, you want total control and you don't want competition. Firms receiving approvals, BitGo, Ripple, Paxos, Fidelity, a bank, they're just trying to option into a crypto sector, right? And they were given conditional licenses issued to Crypto.com, Bridge, and Stripe. And again, skinny Fed master account given to Kraken. What does a skinny Fed master account do? Anybody know? It does one thing. One thing. Payments. And that's where the discussion ends. Okay? They do not want to be bypassed in payments because number one, it's not their business, but no one can compete with them. Allowing this to happen brings in competition to the banks and payments, which is exactly what Ripple has been positioning to do. They are terrified of any competition, period. Anything that's going to take money out of their pocket, and they guise it under everything else. They're sitting there saying that crypto firms could pose risks to Americans and the wider financial system. How? I would like to know how those risks happen. They always say they pose risks, they're a scam. Cool, where's the data? Show me the data how it threatens our banking system by allowing this technology to move forward. It's all a gaze, it's all control. But we have more. Let's continue. We've been discussing, this ties all together. I've been discussing anyway, potential recession possibilities when we're talking about credit card debt, car loans, stock market debt, debt in general being at an all-time high in our country, not just for our government, but for us as consumers, our neighbors. So prediction markets jumped up a 41% probability to a U.S. recession in 2026. The odds have climbed sharply in recent days. Traders cite geopolitical risk and market volatility, escalating tensions involving Iran and rattled global markets. Oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz remain under scrutiny. So right now, what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz? Well, the United States is now offering insurance. We're basically bypassing the United Kingdom and taking over insurance for straits or for ships trying to go through the Strait of Hormuz. There's reports that one has gone through. We see reports that ships are turning their transponders off and going through. You have to remember, the Strait of Hormuz is an area of water that's about the size of Manhattan. Okay, it's not a very big strait. That being said, it can be attacked by land on either side. And if our Navy goes in there, it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. So we can say we're going to do that, but are we actually going to do it? That's another thing. So right now, the strait, for all intents and purposes, is effectively closed. However, Trump came out yesterday stating that, is it this one? No, it was this one, Paul Barron. Trump came out yesterday and said that the war is very complete. Pretty much, and everything pumped. Oil fell down. And then he basically came out right after markets closed and said, can't make this stuff up, guys. He came out right after markets closed and says if Iran in any way attacks a ship or impedes oil going through the Strait of Hormuz, we're going to attack them 20 times harder than we've hit them ever. And they've also said that today, Tuesday, is supposed to be the largest attack on Iran to date. So is it almost over? I mean, you say that it's pretty much complete, and then you come out and say that we're going to attack them harder than they've ever been attacked before. After you say that, but after the markets close. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to do? His story changes every 10 minutes, but that's why we dollar cost average in. That's why we're here for the long view. And that's why we have to follow the information every day, every hour, it seems like, because it's constantly changing. And then we have to decipher what's real, what's not real. It just gets crazy. So right here, Trump's new national cyber strategy names crypto and blockchain as technologies the U.S. government will protect. Again, crypto capital of the world. They have made it very clear. The administration has made it abundantly clear that it is a priority for this to go through. I still think it's going to be done before midterms. Fingers crossed. I don't think it's going to be done before April, and I don't think that this Strait of Hormuz and Iran conflict is going to help the matter. However, that being said, stranger things have happened. We do not know the full plan behind the scenes because, as I said, this has been planned since last year. In my opinion, this invasion or attack on Iran has been planned since last year. That's why we've been ramping up our own oil production, national gas production, energy production for the last year so that we are in a situation where we can handle this. But again, that's my opinion. Clarity Act delays drive heavy crypto shorting. Fundamental rates across exchanges are now strongly favoring short positions, according to sentiment feed data. Well, they got liquidated this morning, didn't they? Because crypto is up today. Crypto up to $1.42 for XRP, and Bitcoin now sitting at 71,000. Again, we need to see it push beyond this barrier, right? We pushed beyond it once, failed to hold it. We need to get beyond it again. So that's what I'm looking for to see if we're going to move up as far as a breakout when it comes to crypto. I want to see Bitcoin break past and hold 72,000. Again, XRP, I want to see break past and hold $1.51. Those are the levels I'm looking at. I do have buy orders in. And again, not financial advice. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. You should always do your own research. All investments come with the risk of loss. That being said, I have buy orders in for $1 and at 14 cents. So I have a buy order in for $1 on XRP and 14 cents for Canton Network, as well as 8.5 cents for HBAR. Those are the current buy orders I have in. Now, as you guys know, the people who are in the stream regularly, I have started messing around in the crude oil futures a little bit. I lost some money this morning on this fallback. Pretty much got immediately stopped out. I bought at 85 and got stopped out as it's now fallen down to $80. Why is oil falling now? Well, Trump said things are going to be over, but the G7 meeting, as far as discussing if they're going to release oil from reserves, is taking place right now, I think. And if they do release oil from their reserves, it's going to relieve the pressure. That being said, if they release oil from their reserves and this continues, then they're going to be in a very, very, very bad spot moving forward if this continues a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then they have already released their oil supply. Again, the United States hasn't touched their oil supply yet, but we are giving insurance and saying we're going to get ships through the strait, and basically making threats that if Iran targets any ships, we're going to level them, essentially. Level their infrastructure, their electric, their water. They're not playing around. I mean, the objective, it seems like, for Trump and the objective for Israel in regards to Iran is to completely devastate them so they can't do anything ever again. That's it. It seems like is the plan. They are there to level them. All the jokes that our parents or my parents made about, my dad made about when I was a kid, joking that they should just turn it into a sheet of glass, looks like Trump is of that mindset. The objective is to level them and make them unable to ever do anything ever again. And if that's the case and we do take over the Strait of Hormuz, then that creates a energy dominant United States. Again, it's all political, or not political. It's all about money. It's all about oil. It's all about economic power. That's always been my opinion. You always follow the money. Behind every major conflict, there's a rich white guy trying to get his take, trying to get his cut. Mr. Chris Tucker himself, he had it right. So there's always someone waiting on the other end of every major thing, every major event, waiting for their cut every time. Follow the money. The money will tell you what to do. That being said, let's look at the rest of it. So I covered what was going on with Paul Barron. I covered what was going on with Coinbro. Oh, this was what I was talking about with the G7 oil reserve decision. G7 engineers, boom, right here. All eyes on G7 oil reserve decision expected in hours. G7 energy ministers will hold a virtual meeting at 12:45 p.m. General Mountain Time today to decide whether to release emergency oil reserves. Officials are weighing a huge $300-400 million bail release to calm global markets. The stakes are massive. Oil just collapsed 30%, crashing from nearly $120 to $83, completely erasing the week's war-driven surge. Good thing I made money on that. This comes as traders react to G7 reserve talks, potential changes to Russian oil sanctions, and Trump suggesting that the Iran war could end soon. If reserves are released, oil could drop further, easing gas prices and inflation worldwide. Now, we haven't felt this as bad in the United States as they have worldwide. This takes a long time, usually like 3 to 6 months to get to us, because we aren't as dependent on the oil in the Middle East as a lot of the Asian countries are, right? This is going to have a much bigger impact on Asian countries that get the majority of their oil from the Middle East. That being said, we're not seeing as bad of an uptick here as they're going to feel it out there. Jungle Inc. Now, when we're talking about investing and when we're talking about the Clarity Act, I've always said that I believe the banks are going to win because they have the money. It's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the freaking rules. Okay, this is probably the most level-headed explanation I have found, at least of my thesis, of my own thesis. This is Rick Edelman, founder of Digital Asset Council of Digital Professionals. Okay, not me, not some random Joe Schmo on the internet. This is Rick Edelman. This is his specialty. Look at, he even looks much more official than me. What does he have to say? Let's see.
This is just a political issue. The banks are dead wrong, and crypto is absolutely correct. Stable coins are the next new thing that are a bigger, better, faster, cheaper, safer way to hold, store, transfer money. And so when banks say they're a threat, well, they're a threat to the banks, and they're just a turf war as far as they're concerned. They're afraid of this upstart upending them. Well, that's Jamie Dimon's problem. That's not a problem for the economy. It's not a problem for the consumer. And yet, the banking lobby is so strong, their opposition to the Clarity Act, which would allow stablecoins to offer yield, siphoning money from those banks, the banking lobby is pretty strong, and they are likely to win the argument. For the crypto community to say, we don't want any bill unless we can get yield out of stablecoins, I don't think it's the hill to die on. I think there are bigger, better, more important reasons for the Clarity Act that are in the best interest of crypto and the benefit of crypto. And I just think that we ought to be engaging in more and more effective negotiation and compromise to get the Clarity Act passed.
So why are we
This is just a
dying
political
on
issue.
the hill?
The banks are dead wrong.
That's the question. Why are we dying on the hill of stablecoin rewards? Are you? Am I? No. You know who's dying on that hill? Coinbase, saying it's what's best for the American people and what's best for the crypto community, saying that stablecoin yield is what's best for us. Okay. Now, that being said, yeah, I mean, stablecoin yield is for the best. I mean, all of this is for the best for us. But more importantly, it's for the best of Coinbase. And more importantly, it's for the best of Coinbase to hold it up so they can continue getting their stablecoin yields. Everyone benefits one way or another. We have to look at all angles. I'm not saying that the banks are wrong. I'm not saying Coinbase is wrong. Well, I mean, I am saying that the banks are wrong. They're evil freaking people. They're evil, greedy sons of bitches. We know this. That's how the banks are. So I'll say they're wrong. But I'm just not going to say that Coinbase and the crypto industry is innocent here. Because if I know anything, follow the money. People are going to take care of their bottom line. That's what they care about. They don't care about you or me as much as they do about that bottom line. And that they will say they care about it if their interests intertwine, right? That's why we talk about aligning with interest when it comes to investing. Again, I do. Now, what did the OCC release not long before all this happened, right? Not long before they're talking about suing the OCC. Our financial services group delves into proposed rule from the Office of the Comptroller Currency that would regulate stablecoin issuers under the Genius Act. The proposed rule is the first framework describing U.S. regulators' substantive expectations of stablecoin issuers. Issuers would be required to maintain minimum reserve assets and capital levels designed to promote confidence in the issuer and the industry as a whole. Do banks have to hold money for the money they loan out? No. Comments on the proposed rule are due by May 1st. So they say it causes an issue. It causes a risk. All right. The main thing is them saying that the stablecoin issuers cause a risk because it's not a dollar. Well, they're backed 1-to-1 with U.S. Treasuries. Yeah, banks are FDIC insured, but they don't have to hold 1-to-1 dollar for the money they're giving out to people. The whole thing is a scam. Stablecoins are more harshly regulated than banks, marking an important milestone in implementation of a new regime for payment stablecoin in the United States as of February 25th, 2026. The Office of the Comptroller Currency issued a notice of proposed rulemaking as directed, guiding establishing national innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act. The proposed outlines rule governance, issuance, and interest payments, licensing, risk management, and supervision, and other matters involving permitted payment stablecoin issuers. So basically, the OCC is moving forward with stablecoin payments and stablecoin minting without the Clarity Act being done because the banks are holding it up and Coinbase is holding it up. Everyone trying to get their best deal for their bottom line. And the OCC, the Fed, everyone is like, we're just going to move forward and write all these rules anyway, and we'll change them once you guys get this done. But this is what we're going to move forward with now since you guys are stalling. And now they're going to threaten to come out and sue them. That is what's happening. Basically, the government agencies are moving forward with the plan as it's wanting to be done by the administration. The banks don't like it, so they're going to try and slow it another way. Oil continuing to fall down to $78. I should have shorted it today. That being said, so it looks like the G7 is working. So while oil is falling, nothing is happening with crypto. Just keeping that in mind. Bitcoin's not moving right now. What is XRP doing right now? XRP is still hanging out at $1.42, consolidating at this level. See if we'll move to another leg up. Again, we all want to see our assets pump. Okay. The view is for the long view over the next 5 to 10 years. But trying to cut through the noise of what they're actually doing and why, I think is important so we can position ourselves accordingly. That's what I always say. So let's talk to the chat. I went on my little 20-minute rant. So let's see what you guys have to say today and what you guys want to talk about today. Let me pull it up here. Hopefully everyone's having a great Tuesday. It's a wonderful day here in Kansas City. The weather is nice again. Oh, it is fantastic. Let's see. Raul was first in the house saying, let's get the show started. Good morning, said Gunpowder. Todd Madison is here. Charles made it in the house today. Kelly made it in. The back and forth game they play with all of us is called the Hegelian dialectic. It's old control technique to keep the masses in the dark. I mean, it's misdirection, right? I mean, it's tale as old as time, right? Look over here while we do something over here, right? That's why I always say the whole thing's a show. It's all a show. It's all a fugazi. It's all a facade. Whatever word you want to use. The real story happens behind the scenes. We get a sliver of it. Hello from the Isle of Man. Okay. Hello from the Isle of Man. I'm guessing Manhattan, hopefully. We're going to do this thing. Oh, no, wait. Exactly. Well, we're going to do this. No, we're going to do this. If you do this, we're going to do this. It changes every 5 minutes. I mean, Trump's position on what he's doing is about as consistent as my underwear. You know what I mean? It changes daily. So if it doesn't, it's nasty, right? If he doesn't change his mind daily, we don't want to sit there with it. If he does, well, thank goodness. Good evening, R. Angel. Appreciate you being here today. Where is everybody from? Well, I know where most people are from at this point, at least all of my regulars, but if you are new to the stream, where are you guys from? And what is your favorite crypto? My personal favorites, what I am holding based on the infrastructure, is XRP, Canton Network, Chainlink, HBAR, and Ondo. Aside from that, I hold gold, silver, copper, US Treasuries, and a little bit of alternative energy, and I have moved out of my real estate. I rent now. I sold my home and rent, and then I also sold all of my REITs because I believe that the housing industry is in a lot of trouble in the near future, but that's just my opinion. Is the Strait controlled by the USA now or Iran? It's still under control of Iran as of right now, Yeshua. Currently under control of Iran. Go DJT. Go Donald J. Trump. I'm assuming is what you are referring to, my good friend, David. Kelly. Scott, what is the benefit of stablecoins if they are pegged to the dollar 1-to-1? Why is holding $100 worse than holding 100 USDC? I can move both easily, and with money, I don't have to pay 1% every time I move it. I don't have to pay 1% every time I move my USDC. I move my USDC on the XRPL. It costs me 2 cents. it cost me 2 cents. I literally moved. I'll say over a number, Kelly. This weekend when I was moving things around, let's just say I moved over $25,000 worth of assets around. Okay. All of it, for the most part, with a couple exceptions, was on XRPL. I spent less than $3 moving all of my assets around. So, if you're talking about buying something on an exchange and moving it off of the exchange and they charging you a percentage, I don't know why they would charge you a percentage to move your USDC off of an exchange. But I have USDC that runs on the XRPL, and I can move it back and forth for 0.0002 XRP. Comes out to just about 2 cents. So I guess I'm not following. I guess it depends on where you're transferring and how you're using it. But I'm not sure where that 1%'s coming from. Yesterday, Bitcoin was up 3.7% on the same day. The Dow fell 886 points. Interesting. I guess I didn't realize that. I'm not sure what the connection would be to the Dow and why it would go up and the Dow would be falling. But there's so much volatility right now. Remember the buzzword volatility. When there's a ton of volatility, what does volatility mean? Volatility means we don't know. When they say it's going to be volatile, we don't know. And that's what we're dealing with right now is a buttload of volatility. It's amazing that Trump can drop a tweet and the markets move as much as they do. Yeah, absolutely. He can drop one single tweet and markets will move 10 to 15%. And it could be completely false is the thing, or it could be completely true. Either way, they're still going to move, right? We don't know. Yeah, he always pump and mainly dump the markets with just a single tweet. Yeah. Hello from the Netherlands, Nick. My cards are on XRP, still buying. Yep, I still have my XRP. I've been buying this dip the entire time, bringing my average all the way down. I think my average now is at like $1.42, $1.43-ish, somewhere in there. Alessa Gaston, that's a new name. I don't recognize that one. I'm from Florida, just now getting into stock. I'm 22. Good for you. Good for you. So my plan, it's not, so me personally, when it comes to this, and again, not financial advice, but it's, I don't care what people's crypto they invest in. Everyone has their own projects they like. Everyone has their own stocks that they like. But for me, I focus on infrastructure, but more than anything else, I focus on the system, right? Dollar cost averaging in 10% of your income every single month. Pay yourself first. Pay your future self first. The more we sacrifice when we're younger, the less we have to sacrifice when we're older. And then, of course, diversifying. Don't put all of your eggs into one basket. When you're younger, absolutely, it's the best time to take on more risk because you have more time to invest. But the mindset is what makes the winners. I mean, granted, some people get the right stocks. I don't want to call it lucky because I hate luck. Some people get the right stocks or they do the right research, because even if you're lucky, it's still operation, or it's still preparation meets opportunity, right? You still had to do the research. You still had to take the action. There might be some luck involved if you catch the right stock or the right crypto or whatever the issue may be. But you still had to take the action and you still had to do the research. So I mean, by saying it's luck takes away from what people did to earn it, in my opinion. I kind of like this channel, but your TDS keeps leaking out there for I am out. My TDS, my Trump derangement syndrome? Oh, I am not a Trumper. I didn't vote for Trump. I look at what's real. It's not saying that I have Trump derangements. Believe me, I fight with my girlfriend all the time about this because she is hardcore leftist. I consider myself a Republican, but I fall more in the middle. And I did not vote for Trump. So you can call me TDS or Trump derangement syndrome. I'm looking at reality and what's actually happening in the real world. And we have to take things for what they are. We can deny reality, that's fine. But eventually, you can avoid reality, but you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding reality. Eventually, it's going to smack you in the head. So, do I have Trump derangement syndrome? No. I have realism syndrome, is what it is. My opinion. Scott, you're lucky. My XRP break even is still above 250. Well, I've been around. So, if it makes you feel any better, I originally started buying XRP. Gosh, it was either 9 cents or 19 cents. I can't remember now. I think it was 19 cents when I made my first XRP purchase. But I went out and was dollar cost averaging in, and I ended up having to sell it during my divorce between 2022 and 2023 when it got delisted and was at its absolute lowest price. So I actually ended up selling out my XRP for a loss in 2023 and then had to start getting back into it. So that way, that's why my buy average is now at $1.42, because I had to start reaccumulating in 2023, unfortunately. Otherwise, my buy average would be much, much lower and I would have a lot more money. You currently have XRP and XLM. Okay. Yep, I like XRP, Canton Network, Chainlink, HBAR, and Ondo. How can Iran still control the Strait while Trump is saying Iran's navy is at the bottom of the sea? Well, here's the thing. You don't need a navy a navy doesn't help you with the Strait. You don't need a navy to control the Strait. The Strait is literally the width of Manhattan. The Navy doesn't help you in there. They can attack it from land, right? So all they need is, and apparently they have anti-naval missiles from China sitting in the Strait of Hormuz. Otherwise, think about it. If it was that easy, why wouldn't we have done it already? He's talking about trying to take over the strait, but we can't do it from the Navy because our ships would be sitting ducks in the Strait of Hormuz. That's my opinion, right? So they don't need a Navy to defend the strait. They can do it from the land. That's the problem. And even though we have decimated Iran's Navy and we've decimated their Air Force and a lot of their, missile and drone abilities, they still have a very large militia of people over there, okay? There's more to it than just what we see on the news, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately. XRP futures volume is up 26% in the last 24 hours. I can't wait for XRP to appreciate. I can't wait for us to get through all of the volatility and all of the nonsense and the Clarity Act and all of those things once this gets moved into law and when it's actually able to start building institutionally. Because the institutional money is at the gates. It's just not going to build until it's codified in the law. But that's always been my opinion. That's why I follow activity on the ledger, right? Yeshua, they can mine it or launch rockets, drone, or even bazookas from every single rock in there. I mean, that's the thing. They can attack the strait from land is the problem. It was about picking the lesser of two evil in this election. Yeah, it kind of was. I mean, there wasn't a good option for me. As a matter of fact, I didn't vote for Harris either. But I voted. You want to know who I voted for? I'll tell you guys. I wrote down Brad Garlinghouse. That's who I voted for in this last election. I didn't like either of the options. Don't forget, you can write down a name when you cast a vote. I wrote down Brad Garlinghouse. Why not? I knew it wasn't work, but I didn't want to pick one of the other. Either way, it was bad. And I'm in a red state anyway, so I'm, what can I do? But my motive, if we want to get political, real quick, I'll be honest with you guys. Morally, and economically, I lean right. Okay? Morally and economically, I lean right. Period. I have my views on abortion. I have all the buzz things, So morally and economically, I lean right. But that doesn't mean I support Trump. Okay? And I think when we talk about the polarization, how everything is so polarizing to the right and everything's so polarizing to the left, and that's all we see online is the extremes from one side and the other, right? And the majority of us exist in the middle, okay? What I would say 90% of us exist in the middle, and we see 10%, if not less than 10%, right? From the extremes of each side. And we need to have calm, rational conversations with people, and everyone gets so heated because it has to be one extreme or another, and that's just not how the world is. There's several different shades of gray. Okay, not to do 50 Shades of Gray, ladies, but there's several different shades of gray when it comes to trying to figure out what's going to work for everyone. That's my political rant. How do you move it? Because I pay exchange fees, Robinhood to Cold Wallet or to Kraken, etc. every time I move or convert. I pay 1% every single time. It's because Robinhood uses Ethereum is the issue. And you're paying for their service. So how do I put it? Because I could switch to USDC at my DEX in Tangem, and it doesn't cost me 1%. Now, I guess I'll have to go back and look at my last transfer on Robinhood when I moved stuff out. I don't recall getting a 1% fee when I moved out my USDC. I'll have to take a look. Yes, Scott is being objective about how the entire money system functions. I guess that's Trump derangement syndrome, right? People, I try to be as unpolitical as possible in here. I don't know how I got TDS, but it is what it is. I guess that goes to preach about how polarizing the sides can be. You know, you say the wrong buzzword, it gets, you know, perception is reality. What people perceive is their reality. It's just the fact of it. So, I mean, I could say one thing as someone perceives what I said another way. I'd not really much I could do about that. My huge buy order was at 243. Okay. I have a large buy order. I bought at $1.21, or I bought it at $1.44. I bought it at $1.32, and then I bought it at $1.21. And then I put my largest buy order in at $1. Actually, I put it at 80 cents, and then I moved it up to $1. Because I changed my target. But so that I still have a large order sitting there for XRP. Aside from that, I've just been buying a little bit here and there. I'll be making I've been making $100 to $200 purchases of HBAR, Chainlink, Canton Network, like randomly throughout the weeks, just stacking it in there. I did just make a very large purchase of Canton at 14.5 cents. I had a buy order there for that. It did hit it. So I was able to get that buy order in as well. I did that through Caleb and Brown. But again, links in the description if you guys want to use them. I use Caleb and Brown, Ellie Powell, and I also have Tangent. But that's what I use. Just no matter what you do as far as a cold storage wallet, just get it from the manufacturer. The other day, I converted $500 on Kraken to USDC and paid $5 when I wanted to convert again to USD for something else. Paid another $4.95 because now I have $4.95 left. Interesting. I'm going to do some more research on that, Kelly. I'm going to look into it a little bit more because that we shouldn't have to pay those fees. Now, granted, that being said, it is cheaper than what you have to spend on American Express fees, or if you do ACH wire transfers, usually those are 3+%, but you don't notice a lot of like the bank to bank transfers because that's USD to USD, right? It's not technically changing currency, whereas USD to a stablecoin is technically changing a currency, right? It's changing the system. But once it's in the system, so that's where XRP is going to come in handy as far as all that stuff. I'll do some more research on that. I think that's important. The fees that were being charged, are they really cheaper? You know what I mean? We'll do some more research on that, Kelly. It's an excellent point. So this war is far from over. We don't know. Could be, could not be, you know? We'll see which direction in the wind Trump wants to come out and fart tomorrow, you know? We get word from so many different sections on where this is going, right? But I can tell you this, there's over 20 countries involved now. France sent people over, UK sending people over. We had major bombers land in the UK yesterday. We have oil production that's either been halted or reduced in several of the Gulf states. It certainly does not feel like it's going to be over soon. It certainly feels like things are ramping up and continue to escalate. More countries involved, more oil being shut down. We have the G7 meeting apparently right now discussing if they're going to release oil reserves or not. So I tend to agree with you, Yeshua. I don't think it's going to be over as fast as he was hinting yesterday. But that's my opinion. That's why I positioned like I did yesterday, right? When we talked yesterday about what I was doing to protect myself and my family and getting myself 90% out of the banking system and making sure I have real world assets available to me. And when I say real world assets, food, water, generator, stuff like that in case of an emergency. Because right now, I don't trust our government. And with 20 countries involved, that's the closest we have ever been to a world war. So again, does that sound like Trump derangement syndrome to anybody? No. And this is stuff I've been talking about for the last 6 months. So I am concerned that we could have a large-scale recession or crisis on our hands, but also a crisis can create or can accelerate innovation, right? Which is what a lot of people were banking on with the reverse carry trade and XRP. Relative, I guess the only one that don't want it to go up because you want to keep buying more. I'm putting in so many buy orders tonight. I get paid. I have a buy order at $1.25 XRP. I'm getting worried it might not get that low. It may not. We did have jobs data today, and as Charles pointed out, we got fresh CPI data tomorrow. So the jobs data that I was looking at today, let me see if I actually have it pulled up here, I thought was interesting, which could play to a positive turnaround. Let me see if I still have it. I didn't pull up the jobs data. Damn it. But what it said is that week over week for the last 4 weeks, there's been a 15,500 job increase each week over the last 4 weeks. So that basically saying that that 92,000 print that we went under for February was the result of a hot January. So it's actually bullish. Saying that, you know, over the last 4 weeks that jobs have been ramping up an average of 15,500 per week. Even though we had a terrible jobs reporting in January, it looks like March's job reporting will be very strong. We'll see what the inflation data says tomorrow when it comes out with core CPI data coming out tomorrow. Again, these are all the things we focus on when we're looking at what's going to happen with rate cuts, how close are we to a recession, unemployment, because yeah, we buy crypto, but crypto follows Bitcoin. Bitcoin follows the overall stock market when it comes to tech stocks. We went over that yesterday, right? Bitcoin follows the tech stocks, not necessarily anything else. So let's take a look here. See how everyone's doing. Let me see if I can stop this poll real quick because it's annoying me. I can't see what I want to see. Hopefully you guys answered it though. Let me take a look here. Pull up here. Where's my poll? 58 people in the stream. Where's everyone from today? Make sure you guys hit the like button if you're getting some value from the stream. What do you guys want to talk about? I'll do a recap for everyone who came in late, and then we will do a chat hangout. So let's do a recap on where we're at right now with what's going on in this. Let me get back to the right screen so I can catch everybody up who came in late. Let me get out of here. Not that one. This one. There we go. All right, perfect. There we go. Now we're getting someplace. Boom. All right. So, starting with the fresh news, if you missed it, banking giants like Goldman Sachs, JPMorgan, and American Express are considering suing the US OCC over its decision to grant national trust bank charters to crypto firms. Banks are arguing that issuing these licenses to crypto firms could pose risk to Americans and the wider financial system. Firms receiving approvals include BitGo, Ripple, Paxos, Fidelity, and they have recently issued to Crypto.com, Bridge, and Stripe. Now remember, this has been debunked multiple times, but as soon as Ripple applied for their bank charter, the banking committees came out and said, no, this is bad. Then they gave it to them, and now they're saying, no, this is bad. What does this really do? If we want to cut through the noise and cut through the crap, what does this really do? It grants them access to payment rails. Banks were never really designed to make their money off payment rails anyway. It was designed to loan and facilitate the velocity of money around the country. Okay? Banks got greedy. They don't want anyone tapping into the payment sector of banking. That's why they were fighting Ripple so hard. SEC, right? What we found buried in the Epstein files. Okay, it's apparent now they were trying to keep back Ripple in the Epstein files. We can all agree on that, right? Okay, we don't have to tinfoil hat that. We can agree that there was some shady things happening to try and keep Bitcoin in the limelight, so they had their cash cow money printer. Okay, so they've been doing this for a while. Because they don't want Ripple to move into that payment sector because they will destroy them. Crypto will completely destroy the banks. So yeah, They don't want them involved in the system. Because if you think about it, Kraken just got their skinny Fed master account, and then this comes out. The only thing, one thing that a skinny Fed master account does is grant them access to the payment rails. They can send payments. That's it. And that will take a massive chunk of the bank's money. They are greedy. They do not want competition. It is strictly that simple. There is nothing to be hidden about it. It's money. That simple. Recession odds jumped to 41% amidst geopolitical risk, market volatility, and escalating tensions involving Iran and rattled global markets. It's ruggly out there, everybody. It is not pretty out there. It is ruggly, rough and ugly. We've determined this before. Trump's new, you guys can't see what I'm doing over here, man. I'm losing my brain. Trump's new national cyber strategy names crypto and blockchain as technologies the U.S. government will protect. This is why I think this is going to go through, because he's not going to let it go. They want to get the Save America Act and the crypto bill through, saying they're not going to get anything done until the Save Act is through. I won't give my opinion on the Save Act. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. What do you think about the Save Act? Apparently, from everything I read, 80% of people want it passed. What do you think? Let me know in the chat. Clarity Act delays drive heavy crypto shorting. Funding rates across exchanges are now strongly favoring short positions, according to Sentiment Feed. Traders are reacting to fears of escalating geopolitical conflict, according to Sentiment. Market frustration is also building over the stalled Clarity Act. So what happens? Number goes up. Every time people start shorting, number goes up. Bearish positioning has increased across major derivatives platforms. Analysts say the mood reflects deep uncertainty. And then now, today, we have XRP futures open interest at like some ridiculous 26 million number someone said in the chat. So, guys, it changes every hour. Be careful what you read, okay? All eyes on G7 oil reserve decision expected in hours as of 12:45 p.m. GMT today to decide whether to release emergency oil reserves. Officials are weighing a huge 300 to 400 million barrel release to calm global markets. Now, oil fell this morning. Let's see. Oil fell last night and this morning. Let me pull up the oil futures. Right, we're down to $81 a barrel right now. Okay, so my guess is the G7, Iran, all of this stuff is starting to calm down a little bit. We'll find out, because according to Trump, right, the war is almost over. At least that's what he said yesterday. Within 30 minutes after the markets closed, he came in and said that if Iran bombs a tanker trying to go through the strait, that he's going to hit Iran 20 times harder than they've been hit to this point. It doesn't sound like the war is over. But that's just me. We're here for the long view, 5 to 10 years. We dollar cost average in over time, but we have to know what's going on in the markets so we know where we're going. And again, when talking about the Clarity Act and what we are looking for moving forward, I think this is probably the best response I've seen. This is Rick Edelman, founder of Digital Asset Council of Financial Professionals. Okay? Doesn't get much higher up than that as far as investing in digital assets. What are they saying? What is the money saying? Let's find out.
This is just a political issue. The banks are dead wrong, and crypto is absolutely correct. Stable coins are the next new thing that are a bigger, better, faster, cheaper, safer way to hold, store, transfer money. And so when banks say they're a threat, well, they're a threat to the banks, and they're just a turf war as far as they're concerned. They're afraid of this upstart upending them. Well, that's Jamie Dimon's problem. That's not a problem for the economy. It's not a problem for the consumer. And yet, the banking lobby is so strong, their opposition to the Clarity Act, which would allow stablecoins to offer yield, siphoning money from those banks, the banking lobby is pretty strong, and they are likely to win the argument. For the crypto community to say, we don't want any bill unless we can get yield out of stablecoins, I don't think it's the hill to die on. I think there are bigger, better, more important reasons for the Clarity Act that are in the best interest of crypto and the benefit of crypto. And I just think that we ought to be engaging in more and more effective negotiation and compromise to get the.
So who's dying on the Stablecoin Yield Act or on the Stablecoin Yield Principle? Who's been the one dying on that, making the biggest fuss about it? It's been Brian Armstrong. Now, I know he says he's doing it for the people. I don't believe that. I've said that very clearly. And number one, I never liked Coinbase. I've said that very clearly too. But I don't trust him at all. And I certainly believe that he is doing what's best for his own bottom line and his company's own best interest. Okay? Now, let's look about it. Now, to be fair, I expect the same thing about Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple. Do they care about stablecoin? No. They're saying clarity is better than chaos, that we need to get a bill across. They're focused on payments. There's more than one way to make money in crypto. And people are focusing on the ways that are going to make them money. Again, we can always count on people to serve their own interest in finance. Okay? Ripple's focused on payments. Coinbase is focused on stablecoin yield. That's the problem. My opinion, not financial advice. So let's get back into the chat, see what everyone else is doing here. Hopefully you guys kept the chat rolling today. I need to get to the right screens here so you guys can see the right stuff. There we go. All my bank-to-bank ACH are free, right? Because you're not changing currency, right? From bank-to-bank ACH is USD, right? It's still dollar. It doesn't leave the system. They're literally just moving a digital fingerprint from one screen to another. You know, Tiny Dancer. I don't think you have TDS, Scott. I don't think so either, but apparently someone made that comment. Thank you for researching. Then you can let me know why stablecoins are important. Okay. Well, stablecoins are important because they can transfer on the blockchain and they're programmable. And basically, let me put it this way. So they're programmable. Stablecoins are programmable. And all the stuff that banks do behind the scenes with money market funds and the money and the currencies and stuff like that can be programmed into the blockchain and in the stablecoin and make it cheaper, faster, quicker to settle back and forth across things. Okay? Because it's all programmable, and AI agents won't be able to use physical currency. AI agents will only be able to transact on blockchain. So basically, here's a good way to put it. Stablecoins run on fiber. USD runs on dial-up. Okay? That's what we're at right now. It's the velocity of money. The faster money goes, the faster an economy can grow. Velocity of money is highly important. Okay? So that's why stablecoins are important, because they can move faster and more seamlessly across the blockchain and interact with AI, whereas US dollars cannot. It's that simple, literally. Never let a crisis go to waste, Hillary Clinton. I mean, that's a politician. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Don't forget protection either. That's a real asset. Yes. Protection is a real asset. You are correct. Along with my hoard of food, water, and my generator is right next to my 12-gauge shotgun, Yeshua. I do have my 12-gauge for home protection. Which one are you investing more into? XRP, HBAR, or Canton? Well, you actually hit my top three, and I can be proud to say that I have now a completely equal distribution of XRP and Canton. I have the same amount invested in both. Those are my top two. So, and then HBAR comes in at number 3. So I would say I am completely equally invested in XRP and Canton. Those two of my crypto hold about 70% total of the weight in my entire crypto bag. HBAR probably sits at about 15%-ish, somewhere in there. Kelly said, you don't have TDS. You are very down to earth with your views. I try. Am I investing in Monad? No, I am not investing in Monad. I try to be down to earth. I try to take very common sense approach to things. And as we found out, I think that common sense approach is kind of going out the wayside. Not many people have common sense anymore, unfortunately. Excuse me, let me get that out of there. St. Louis in the house, JT. Molt coin, please. I'll look into it. I don't have any information on that, and I won't give, opinions on stuff I haven't researched because I don't want to give you false information. So I'll do some research on it when I get a chance. Sir Charles said, well said. 3 weeks ago, Signet 2 more business contracts. Okay. You agree with voting ID, says Damian Voss. Okay. Kelly says 100% support the SAVE Act. I'm not originally from the U.S. and I can't believe nationality and ID is not required to vote. Unfathomable. Well, I won't choose a side, but I'll put it this way. So I won't say where I agree. Probably not what you think by this statement. I do like to play devil's advocate to things too. But the only problem with voter ID and voter registration is that the Democrats say that it would prevent millions and millions of poor Americans from voting. And that pretty much guarantees that Republicans will win. Well, why not just require a voter ID? Don't you have to have a voter ID to pay taxes? Right? If you're not, okay. If you're not voting, that's one thing. But if you're not contributing to the country, you're not working, you're not paying taxes, why should you be able to vote? Kids don't vote, right? If you're in prison, you don't vote. If you are not contributing to the society, why should you vote on what happens with the society? That's just a basic question. That's me. Now, I understand not everyone has the ability to maybe go do the things they need to do to get a voter ID. But if you can't get a voter ID, maybe you shouldn't vote, right? Now, I understand the argument that it's a ploy to prevent poor people from voting. Poor people have a driver's license, don't they? Like, I mean, I don't know, man. To me, you need to have an ID to vote. It seems very basic to me. I understand the argument about it, that it will keep a lot of people out of the polls. But, and I'm not even saying this as a Republican or a Democrat. I'm just saying that if you are going to have an impact on our country, then you should be participating in the betterment of our country, right? Am I crazy for that? Am I wrong for that? I might be. But I mean, I understand the principle, but you need to have ID to vote. I agree with that statement. I believe you need to have ID to vote because, I mean, yeah, it seems like such a basic thing. And it has literally nothing to do with trying to restrict people from voting, at least for me. Now, not saying that's not their intention of the people trying to impose it, but in my opinion, I believe that. Can't crypto companies that were awarded bank charters fight back against banks and the monopoly that they operate under? They could, but they don't have a bank charter yet. They have conditional bank charters, right? They have conditional bank charters. And again, we need crypto codified in the law. We need the Clarity Act passed. Anything that's been done to this point can be undone with a new administration, new rules written, right? Because the people that were put in place at the Fed, the CFTC, the SEC, all of those things can be changed under a new administration. So until it's codified in the law, we are not safe and secure. They can undo everything that's been done. Even the banks that already have charters. A new OCC can pull that. Okay? So that's where we're sitting at right now with that. Long view could be, to be honest, in my opinion, Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple don't care at all for retail and stablecoin yields. They are already positioned where need be. Exactly. They care about payments. They don't care about the stablecoin. That they're not trying to make retail money. They are there for institutional money, period. So, I mean, retail is not going to move XRP. Institutional adoption and utility is the only thing that will move XRP to any kind of reasonable number, in my opinion. Well, you have the same amount of Canton as XRP. How much do you think CC will appreciate? I know you love it. I believe Canton can be $3 to $5 by 2030. I believe that. I believe that Canton Network can appreciate to $3 to $5 by 2030. Tokenization is coming like a freight train and will be here. Everything is going to be tokenized, ladies and gentlemen. We've heard everyone say it across it saves and makes way too much money for the people who have it. Okay? Follow the money. We talk about it. Tokenization they're going to tokenize everything because it's going to save them a ton of money. And not only is it going to save them a ton of money, it's going to make them a ton of money. Why does BlackRock care about tokenization? Let's put it in a very clear perspective. I'm going to make this very simple. Why does BlackRock care about tokenization? Because it makes them money. Interesting. How does tokenization make BlackRock money? Well, let's look at their Bitcoin ETF. Regardless if Bitcoin goes up, down, sideways, whatever, BlackRock makes money off of the fees every time people trade the ETF. So by tokenizing every market and making every market 24/7 and available globally, worldwide, you get more participation, right? You get more buying, selling, purchasing, more fees. And then you take into effect, you're going to have AI agents doing this too. Its fees are going to be farmed by AI agents just buying and selling all day on tokenized money market funds. This is why everything's going to be tokenized. The velocity of money is going to increase exponentially once everything gets on blockchain. And it is going to be on blockchain. We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube at this point, right? It's out there. People are making way too much money in these money market funds and tokenized assets, really. I mean, New York stock, NASDAQ partnering now with Kraken. Was it Kraken? To list 24/7 tokenized stocks a day after they got their Fed Master account? Okay. This is fees, more and more fees. That's why BlackRock's partnered with Uniswap now. Right? You cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's only going to go one direction. The question is, who's going to make the money in the transition? Banks are trying to make sure it's them. Crypto companies are trying to make sure they get their piece. That's what's happening. All those poor Americans need ID to get SNAP benefits. They ask for ID for everything and not voting. That's crazy. You need an ID to buy a beer. Absolutely. You need an ID to see a rated R movie. I mean, come on. We have to be able to vote. I mean, come on. No, they say poor black Americans. I'm black and I've had ID for 40 years, Damien. I try to keep race and ethnicity out of it, but I mean, we have to be honest about how demographics are affected, okay? This will effectively remove people who are typically, race aside, typically who are not contributing to the betterment of society. However you want to look at whether they're working, not working, whatever, okay? Usually people who don't have ID are not helping society. And if you aren't willing to have an ID, then you shouldn't be able to vote on how our society is ruled. Right? That's just me. Those poor Americans need ID to buy cigarettes, get child support, and they're just poor, not stupid. Also, government can offer assistance to get your first ID. That's true. That's because dead people can't vote. Yeah, that's true. Make IDs free now. Everyone can get an ID, not hard, and birth certificates are free. Right? Well, I mean, voter ID also, you have to be competent to vote as well. The question is, does our vote actually count? For example, gerrymandering, money, politics. Well, Cordell Lewis, and here's the thing though. I understand the argument and hate that argument. I hate that argument. And here's why I hate that argument. Oh, my vote doesn't count. I'm not going to do it anyway. Okay. That's the one way to make sure your vote definitely doesn't count, is to not cast one. And quite frankly, if someone's complaining about politics to me, I ask them, did you vote? If they said no, I won't even listen to them. Okay? You have to vote. You have to vote. It is your duty as an American. And if you're going to sit here and complain about the economy and the presidency and the administration and all these things and never voted, you don't have a voice to me because you didn't exercise your voice to the country. That is your American duty, is to vote. Otherwise, don't complain. Bend over and take it. You signed your own system. Every kid in schools have a school ID. Exactly. Sorry, I can't roll with people who say it's okay for my little girl to be subject to sharing sports and private space with men. Agreed. Again, my moral and economic feelings typically lie on the red side of things. Okay? What do you guys think about XRP price by 2030 and why? Well, I still think over $25 is possible. We have to see it. We have to see utility be turned on. And in order for them to even get rid of the Nostro Vostro accounts and improve the velocity of money, they need the liquidity of at least a $20 to $30 XRP in order to do that. So for them to really use XRP at any kind of scale, for even the basics of cross-border payments, just of unlocking Nostro Vostro accounts and increase the velocity of money, then I think we need to see at least a $25 XRP. So that's $25 to $100 is realistically my outlook for XRP by 2030. And $3 to $5 for Canton Network is what I'm looking at. Now, could I be wrong? Sure. I could be wrong. It could be lower. It could be higher. If it's higher, I'm happy to be wrong. If it's lower and it only does 300 to 500 to 800% or whatever, more than likely it's going to outpace the market. And it's one of those things that I can tolerate believing in something and being wrong, but I can't tolerate believing in something, selling it, and then I was right. You know what I mean? I couldn't live with myself when I believe in crypto and the crypto community and the crypto market moving forward. And then I were to sell it and I was right. You know what I mean? I can live with myself letting it go to zero. I can't live with myself getting out and being right. So I will hold, and I am here for the long view, next 5 to 10 years. Damian Boss, I agree with long view. All love, brother. All right. Alcoholic Click says, okay. I'm about to stop buying H-bar so I can get more CC. Okay. Is it Mr. DT speaking? I don't think he's speaking today. He could be, but I don't think he is. Let me see what we got going on. Let me check my screens now that I've gone through the chat. How many people are in here today? I didn't even check. How many people we got? 36 down here. Oh, we got up to 68 at one point. That was good. Yeah, nice long hangout. Hopefully everyone's having a good day. If you guys are new to the stream, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. I know that YouTube's been having a lot of issues with people not getting notifications of streams, so make sure you have the bell clicked. Make sure you have notifications set. But I stream every single day, Monday through Saturday at noon, with a rare exception. I might be late on a Saturday. But YouTube's been apparently having issues with getting notifications to people. So make sure the bell's clicked if you guys want to watch it. Again, every day at noon, Monday through Saturday, we cover the non-hype, cut through the noise, try to understand what's really happening in this crazy freaking world that we're living in, because you have to deal with AI fakes and everything else. So we're trying to build a community of people who are here for the real deal, long view. I appreciate everyone taking your time to be here. Your time is your most valuable asset. You will never get more of it. So the fact that you spend it here with me